door.
We're joined right now by two guests. Liza Featherstone is a contributing editor to The Nation. Her recent piece is headlined, "Why This Socialist Feminist is Not Voting for Hillary." She's the editor of the forthcoming volume titled False Choices, the Faux Feminism of Hillary Clinton. She's also author of Selling Women Short, the landmark battle for workers' rights at Walmart. Susanna Walters is also with us. She's professor of sociology and director of the Gender Studies program at Northeastern University. Her recent piece for The Nation is headlined, "Why This Socialist Feminist is for Hillary." She's also the editor of the feminist journal Signs and the author of numerous books, including most recently The Tolerance Trap, How God, Genes, and Good Intentions Are Sabotaging Gay Equality. Welcome you both to Democracy Now! Professor Walters, let's begin with you. Why are you supporting Hillary Clinton as a democratic socialist, and what does democratic socialism mean to you?
Well, I'm supporting her for a lot of reasons, and certainly, I should say, as I said in the piece, I love Bernie. And I sort of consider myself a supporter of both of them. If Bernie is the nominee, I will work my butt off for him. If Hillary's the nominee, I'll work for her. I think we've got, wonderful candidates there, so I'm thrilled to see that. And I should also say that I'm thrilled to see how they're conducting themselves with such collegiality and substance in these debates. I'm supporting Hillary for a number of reasons. I think she is a centrist, turning left centrist Democrat. I think Bernie has pushed her much further to the left, and kudos to him and his campaign for doing that. She's taken much more progressive positions since this campaign season started. But I also am supporting her very honestly and forthrightly and proudly because she is a woman. And I have, I have no problem saying that. We have voted with our gender for over 200 years, and that vote has resulted in the gender male being in the office for over 200 years. The significance of having a woman break that glass ceiling cannot be overestimated. I just think it's incredibly important, just as it was incredibly important to have an African-American president break through that ceiling. So, the fact that she is a feminist, that she is a, leaning towards progressive Democrat at this point, obviously qualified for the job, all of those things lead me to support Hillary. But again, I should say, I support Hillary and I support Bernie, and I love his candidacy as well.
Liza Featherstone, talk about why you're supporting Bernie Sanders.
Well, I'm supporting Bernie Sanders because he actually is a socialist and a feminist candidate. I mean, he is talking about exactly the things that would make life better for the majority of women. Single-payer health care, given women are the most likely to go into medical debt. Women have the highest health care costs and most likely to be poor heads of families. He is talking about raising the minimum wage to $15, riding on a grassroots movement that is calling for that right now. Again, women are the majority of low-wage workers. So these are the kinds of things that would really improve life for women, and it's as well as for many other Americans, and it's exciting to see that. And
what does democratic socialism mean to you?
So, it's funny because some people have said to me since I wrote the Nation piece, but Sanders is not really a socialist because socialism is workers sharing the means of production, and Sanders is not calling for that. It's like, well, good point. He's not calling for that because that would be fairly radical for an American public that hasn't often been exposed to socialist ideas. However, he is calling for socializing a lot of things: healthcare, higher education.
Explain on healthcare what it means. You hear
Sure.
Hillary Clinton slamming him, saying we have just erected Obamacare, and you're talking about tearing it down. What exactly he's calling for? How single payer? How you take the road from Obamacare to single payer?
Sure. So he's calling for getting rid of private healthcare, private health insurance companies, like the entire private insurance industry. which is, as anyone who deals with healthcare, in the sense of trying to access it for themselves knows, would be a really would be a really great thing. He's effectively talking about expanding Medicare, public health insurance, which is now enjoyed by senior citizens, to everybody. And that is something that works very well in many other countries, such as Canada, and would greatly improve our healthcare outcomes and quality of life.
Professor Walters, your views on healthcare and Hillary Clinton's attack on Bernie Sanders around pushing for Medicare for all.
Right. It was an interesting moment in the debates, actually. And again, one of the more substantive ones, which I'm always glad to see the Democrats doing. The Republicans simply don't have substantive debates. So this is a nice change. And I agree with Liza. I mean, I think Bernie's, I am for socialized medicine and for universal health care, absolutely. I think the debate is a strategic one, and it's a tough one. Paul Krugman had an interesting piece in the Times the other day arguing that simply it can't be done, that the best chance we have, given that there has been such enormous pushback, I think, by the Republicans, that I don't think any bill has been so attacked as this one in history, and so many repeals sent to the president's desk, that Hillary's strategy of boosting up, enhancing, making it better in terms of the Affordable Care Act is a winnable strategy in this political context versus the strategy of Medicare for All, opening up to more debate and more contestation by the Republicans. I actually don't know who's correct on this. I mean, I hope Bernie's right. I fear that unless there is a real change in the makeup of the House and the Senate, that in fact it's just not going to happen. That if a proposal for Medicare for all, or for a version of really creating a robust socialized medicine program and healthcare program in this country, unless there was a fundamental change in the makeup of our government, that it just simply couldn't happen. So I on a strategic level, I'm somewhat convinced by Hillary and Krugman's argument there. Certainly ethically, ideologically, I believe in universal health. So for me, this is an interesting and substantive and strategic debate within the Democratic Party. And I don't pretend to be an expert on this and to know who's actually accurate. And I do think, though, that this is a debate well worth having without demonizing one side or the other on it. It is largely, I think, a question of realpolitik and strategy. And a lot of that is dependent not just on an individual, whether there's a Hillary or a Bernie in office, but what happens to the rest of the makeup of our governing bodies.
Liza Featherstone, you wrote a book on Walmart, Selling Women Short, the landmark battle for workers' rights at Walmart based in Arkansas. Hillary Clinton on the board of Walmart for many years. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, she served on the board of Walmart for many years. In fact, she was brought on by the Walton family because they were concerned about getting some criticism. This was, very early days, years before the Betty Dukes lawsuit that I wrote about, in which women sued Walmart for sex discrimination. But they were concerned about getting criticism about the position of women in the company, so they brought Hillary Clinton on the board. At the time, she was First Lady of Arkansas, and she was she didn't really do anything to address the situation of women at the company. But more surprisingly, to me, she hasn't in recent years ever said anything. When people ask her, do you have any comment as, such a prominent woman claiming feminist credentials, running for president of the United States, do you have any comment about this company where you served on the board and the company was later the target of the largest sex discrimination suit in history? She hasn't walked it back. She hasn't really said anything at all about it, and I think that's indicative. I think Hillary Clinton really represents a a kind of a lean-in feminism, a feminism for the elite. I think that some people will look to her as breaking glass ceilings, but I think her attitude toward her time at Walmart indicates her attitude toward the vast majority of working class women.
One of her fiercest criticisms of Sanders was his positions on guns, though he said he got a D- from the National Rifle Association. Walmart's the biggest gun and ammunition seller in the country.
Yeah, and
Did she weigh in on that as a board member?
Not as far as I know. And I think that that's an interesting thing that people should be asking her more about.
Susanna Walters, your position on Hillary Clinton's position on the board of Walmart, not to mention the issues of wages for workers, et cetera.
Yeah, look, I think that she has a decidedly, like most politicians and people in public life, a decidedly mixed history. Absolutely. Would I like her to be less hawkish? You bet. Would I like her to be more outspoken on any number of things? Absolutely. I also think we need to look at where she stands now and the positions she's taking now. She's been a firm supporter of questions of wage equity, of reproductive rights. I mean, there's a reason Planned Parenthood went out of its way to endorse her in this way. She has called for more funding for Planned Parenthood, for a repeal of the Hyde Amendment. So, I think she is a strong advocate for women's rights in a wide range of fora. I also would say that this kind of parsing of, is she a lean-in feminist or is she a this kind of feminist? I kind of feel most of our major leaders, people who reach this level of political life, make all kinds of compromises, are deeply compromised people in their politics. They are not radical feminists of the ilk that I would love to see in office. I'm not expecting that. So I guess my expectations for all of this are quite different, that people are complicated, they are a mixed bag, they're good on some things, not good on other things. That's why, I like the criticism about Bernie and guns. I actually think Bernie would do fine on guns. I think it's not a justified criticism. I think he could have been tougher. He would do just fine if he was president. He would do the right